All right, welcome back, T-Rex friends and family. Buckle up. This story is how a free tire repair turned into a 4-week adventure, cost exactly $0 out of pocket, but still managed to end my riding season early. If you've ever owned something rare, possibly three-wheeled, and just different enough to turn every simple task into a saga, you're going to feel this one. Because with these things, normal solutions simply don't apply. So first, a little context. This year in Wyoming, we had phenomenal riding weather, way warmer and lasting much longer than usual. If this is global warming, sign me up. I fully expected to squeeze every possible mile out of the season, and I was off to a great start. Earlier this year, though, I had a new roof installed on my house, which meant nails. So many nails everywhere. Ever since then, I've been religiously cleaning random roofing nails out of my driveway and repairing every tire on all my vehicles. Tried as I might, one of them eventually found its way into my front right tire. I found it while the T-Rex was parked in front of my jiu-jitsu academy when the sun reflected off that newly polished nail head, because apparently that's how these things work. I quickly regained my composure and reminded myself that these T-Rex tires are so stout that it's possible to ride them flat and not even realize it. Nevertheless, I drove it straight home and parked it in the doghouse before losing any real pressure. I grabbed my low-profile jack and used some softeners so nothing got scratched or stressed, and lifted the T-Rex just enough to pull the wheel. Now, this is important. Before I left, I placed solid blocks under the frame. At the time, it felt like overkill, but that little decision ends up being the unsung hero of this entire story. Wheel comes off, tire goes into the truck, and I head to a tire shop that I trust. Easy fix, right? Patch the tire, slap it back on, and get back to riding before lunch. Yeah, not so much. Not with the T-Rex anyways. While removing the tire from the wheel, the technician accidentally damaged the powder coating on the wheel. And to their credit, and I mean this sincerely, the shop immediately owned it. No excuses, no deflection, no minimizing. They told me flat out, we're going to make this right no matter what it costs and no matter how many zeros are on the left of that decimal point. You win! Which is wild considering tire repair is normally a free service. I'm a regular customer, but that level of honesty deserves some serious respect. Unfortunately, though, that integrity also kicked off an entirely new adventure. Now I've got a T-Rex wheel with a damaged powder coating, which sounds simple until you realize that most body shops don't do powder coat. Powder coat shops don't usually touch car wheels, and nobody keeps Campagna TRex colors on the shelf. After several days of phone calls and shop visits, I finally found an industrial company called Tuboscope. This company mostly works in oil and gas, like big stuff, heavy stuff. So asking them to powder coat one small, very specific wheel felt like a long shot. To my surprise, they were incredibly understanding and agreed to help. Now here's where past me deserves a huge thank you. When I bought my T-Rex, I asked my dealer, Duran Burnside, who I am grateful to say is now a good friend, to give me every paint and powder coat code just in case. At the time, it felt like one of those probably unnecessary but smart moves, and as it turns out, this was exactly that moment. I handed Tuboscope the correct powder coat code, but as you would expect, the color wasn't something they stocked, so it had to be ordered. 1 week for material, 2 weeks for blasting and coating, and another week and a half for proper curing. And the entire time, my T-Rex is just waiting. When I finally picked up the wheel, I was honestly blown away. The finish is perfect. The color match, spot on. You'd never know that anything happened. I brought it back to the tire shop, and they insisted on assigning the job to their most senior technician just to make sure everything was handled correctly. And as promised, no bill. Not from them, not from Tuboscope. When I got back to the doghouse, I realized something critically alarming. A full-blown rookie mistake from a guy who should know better. Over the past few weeks, while I was bemoaning this lengthy repair adventure, the jack had slowly lost its pressure. The T-Rex was no longer supported by the jack, but my panic quickly gave way to relief because the T-Rex was resting perfectly on the blocks I'd placed under the frame as a precaution. That decision alone saved me from a very different video, totally different tone, and possibly some tears. I reinstalled the wheel, torqued the lugs to the recommended 90 foot-pounds, stepped back, and there it was, tight, right, and ready to ride. Unfortunately, Wyoming fall had officially arrived. Cold roads, cold tires, gusty winds. 3 racing wheels and high winds are not a fun combination. So the T-Rex is now winterized, plugged into the battery tender, and safely tucked away in the doghouse, waiting patiently for April. For anyone who's wondering, powder coat is $50 per pound. I needed about 4 pounds for this one wheel, plus about $100 an hour for blasting and application, so roughly $500 total. Worth every penny. And thankfully, not my pennies. Not this time anyway. Moral of the story? Well, there's several. Block your frame, keep your codes, appreciate honest shops, and accept that owning a T-Rex means even the smallest jobs can turn into full-blown adventures. If you've got a similar story, drop it in the comments below. Misery loves company, especially on 3 wheels. I'll see you next time. Until then, enjoy the B-roll. And remember, be nice and ride safe.